Well, here we are back again in action. We're your automotive how not to get ripped off by your car dealer team. And we're here. It's a good morning. It's a rainy morning here in South Florida. Cloudy and weather doesn't look good. It's temperature's okay, but I'm excited because we're having some breakthroughs in enforcement of laws in Florida. Possibly people are reaching the stage now, and maybe even the regulators. The media is starting to stick their nose out. That's my excitement, really. Really exciting investigative reporting done on some local South Florida car dealers doing what we've been talking about on the show for many years, but nobody seemed to care. So I think I'm seeing the worm turn a little bit. We hope so. Your support, I'm sure, has had a lot to do with this because websites are popping up and we're seeing a lot of social media conversation about the shabby treatment that car dealers are focusing on you, the car buyers. Prices have risen to an outrageous level. Profits for car dealers and manufacturers, although some will have you think that they're suffering a bit, they're not really. I mean, the prices are so high today. By a quantum leap, they've leaped forward with a low supply, high demand. The supply chain thing you hear about ad nauseum. It's always something going on to justify extraordinarily high car prices. So I think we've reached the point where we're going to say, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. I think that's the attitude out there. And you're part of this. We're Earl on Cars and you callers out there, you amazing callers out there that report back on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We're hearing from you more and more and more. And as I say, the resistance level is rising. This whole price thing could be a good thing in disguise because it could be the thing that pushes us out into the face of the media, into the face of the regulators, into the face of the legislators who so far have pretended, what's the problem with the car dealers? Oh, they're just a bunch of nice guys. Well, ain't true. It's not true. Not all of them. Some of them are. We have a mystery shopping report coming up. It'll be a surprise. Don't want to reveal too much, but we visited another South Florida dealer and went through the process, and I think you'll enjoy this report a lot. It's going to be a surprise to a lot of you. As I said before, we're a team here in the studio. Rick Kearney, Stu Stewart, Nancy Stewart, myself, but you're the most important part of the team because without your calls and your feedback and your comments and your constructive criticism, or, as I always say, we'll take the destructive along with the constructive because we are totally transparent. If you have a problem, we will air that problem, even if the problem is with us. You could call us, and I'm sorry I have to repeat this number so many times. I can imagine being out there listening or watching and have us repeat this number, 877-960-9960, over and over. 877-960-9960. I do that for the new listeners, and I do that for people that maybe are a little bit timid about calling the show. Calls are our number one priority. Nancy Stewart, sitting to my left in the studio, has a laptop open in front of her, and the person in the control room, when the call comes in, pops that name and number right up in front of Nancy, and Nancy calls a halt to whatever is going on. Even when I'm yapping, or Stu, or Rick, we stop, we take our calls. Prioritize the phone call, 877-960-9960. 877-960-9960. Now, for those that aren't extroverts, for those who are not nervous about speaking on live radio, we have a text number, 772-497-6530. If you text us, Stu is the one that watches those, and when they come in, we archive them. We got them in the smartphone, and we get to them during the show. Whenever there's a break or pause on phone calls or YouTubes or whatever, we get to the text, 772-497-6530. 772-497-6530. And my favorite source of contact is our anonymous feedback line. Your, Y-O-U-R, anonymous, A-N-O-N-Y-M-O-U-S, feedback.com. That's a URL, that's a website, and you go there, through there, and youranonymousfeedback.com reaches us, and we don't know who you are. We don't know where you are. We know when you sent the message, but we don't know anything else. You could be a car dealer. You could be in the FBI. You could be a criminal. You could be a dealer. Oh, I just said that. I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. We got some honest dealers out there. We salute you, and we praise you when we mystery shop you, and we put you on our recommended dealers list. So all you dealers and salespeople and other employees of car dealerships listening right now, here's a chance to be on our recommended dealer list. Just behave yourself when our mystery shopping goes out. Usually we're in Florida, but we go to other states too. We are all over the USA, Canada, we're all over the world really, and we get callers, especially on YouTube and Facebook. Facebook.com/Earl on Cars. Go there, Facebook.com/Earl on Cars, and we're live streaming, and you can see us. You can see my beautiful, handsome face, and we got all of us here live. And YouTube the same way, YouTube.com/Earl on Cars. Rick Kearney, who is our certified diagnostic master technician, answer any question you have about any car 99% of the time. And we always get the answer one way or the other, even if we have to resort to Google or other research. We'll get your answer. You got a squeak, rattle, or roll in your car? You don't want to take it to a car dealer and get hosed with a huge bill that isn't justifiable? Call us. Hey, send us an audio file or a video file. We can actually look at that, and Rick Kearney can make a diagnosis for you. He's probably right. Always want to confirm it, in real. You have to bring it in. I mean, physically, you need to inspect the car, but he can give you a pretty good idea. Save you a ton of money. And he's on youtube.com/Earl on Cars. You'll see that right away. So if you can call us, give us a call. If not, we give you those other sources. And I'm going to turn the mic over to Nancy Stewart. She's my co-host. She's a co-founder of the show with me many years ago when we were only on for half an hour. And she's a female advocate. She is really, really out there for the ladies. And you ladies know, you just don't always get treated the way a man does. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's still looked at too much of as a man's world. There's a lot of conversation about it not being the right thing, but it still happens. And Nancy Stewart is here to help put a stop to that and arm you with the knowledge you need to go into a car dealership and to be treated with respect and courtesy. And I will turn the mic over to Nancy right now.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. First, I'd like to remind you that you can subscribe to Earl Stewart on Cars. You can subscribe to Earl Stewart on Cars podcast using any of the following podcast apps from your iPhone or your Android. And you can sign up for Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. You can go to Amazon Music, Stitcher Radio, and SoundCloud app. So there's so many ways that you can get in touch with us. This morning I'd like to extend $50 for the first two new lady callers. $50 to the first two new lady callers. And ladies, did you have a car purchasing experience this week, servicing experience, anything at all? Did you learn something? Did you teach the salesperson something? I'd like you to share with us exactly, what your encounter was, and you can do so. And you can also win $50 for the first two new lady callers at 877-960-9960. Also, you can text us at 772-497-6530. And don't forget, youranonymousfeedback.com. Now back to the recovering car dealer.
You covered the first-time caller, right? The first two new female callers?
Oh, yes, she did.
You did.
And we can do that again.
Well, I think
the first two
let's do it
new
again. Do it again.
Female callers, you win yourself $50. And in the climate we're living in, that $50...
Get you some gas.
Well, it'll go a short way.
Right. Yeah.
And there's no strings attached. The reason I'm always hammering on that is because I think a lot of people, you see so much, you hear so much, you read so much about unrealistic offers. They always do that to get your attention, and then there's fine print, and it's not really true. So when we say $50 to the first two new female callers, there are no strings attached. There's no fine print. We just want you to call the show. You don't even have to say anything. We like you to say something. We like you to mention, what experiences you've had in the car buying or leasing world or car repairing world, but there are no strings. I would think that I think we'd have two new female callers right now. $50, ka-ching.
Yeah.
No strings attached.
Yeah, big bucks, like Stu said. Maybe you can get yourself some gas. I don't know.
Like half a tank.
Yeah.
But let me emphasize here, you don't have to call and share an experience
No.
with us. You can just call and say hello. So take advantage of that offer this morning. Now back to the recovering car dealer.
Yeah, before I was going to ask Stu to mention the mystery shopping report process, and before I do that, I just want to say that we have a special clip coming up on the show. It's a news clip from WPLG Channel 10 in Fort Lauderdale. Very exciting news, and we'll key it up later on. I'll give Jonathan the heads up and the countdown, and some of you may have seen that if you're in the Miami, Fort Lauderdale area, southern Florida, far south Florida. WPLG Channel 10 investigative reporter did a great expose and put it on television. Called me and did a Zoom interview. So if any of you saw that on TV, WPLG, 2 or 3 days ago, you might want to call the show and talk about it. And if you are a person that is driving a lease car, did you know 1 out of 3 of you today is driving a lease car? And if you're driving a lease car, you have a decision to make. What do you do when that lease is up? Do you buy the car? That's what this expose is all about with Channel 10. They have exposed the fact that car dealers are taking advantage, surprise, 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 taking advantage of people when they come in to exercise their option to purchase their off-lease vehicle. And a lot of you out there, if you're driving an off-lease vehicle, heads up, you're going to want to see this video clip that will play in a little while about exposing the fact that virtually every car dealer in Florida, in fact the country probably, but we see the Florida ones more often, are breaking the law by adding cost, hidden fees, profit to themselves to the option price of the lease car. You have a right to purchase that lease car at a really, really good price, thousands of dollars less than the current market value. And boy, you don't want to pass up that opportunity. You either want to buy it and drive it, or you want to buy it and trade it back in to offset the extremely high price of the new car you might want to lease or buy. So stay tuned for that. And I'm going to turn the mic over to Stu, and he'll give us a little heads up on the mystery shopping report.
Oh, I thought you wanted to hear just a general idea of the process.
Well, yeah, both.
I can.
Both.
I'd be happy to.
No, I want to hear the general idea of the process first, and then.
Yeah. So every week on Monday, I have a conversation by phone with Agent Lightning. I almost said the real name there for a second. With Agent Lightning. And it's on Monday while Saturday's show is still fresh in our mind. Agent Lightning also listens to the show. Hi, Agent Lightning. And so kind of based on what we discussed on the show, sometimes we pledge to mystery shop a different type of dealership, or it might just be on the theme that we're on. Like right now, we're on the theme of family-owned dealerships and how they're handling the inventory crisis, and whether they're as tempted as the other dealers to go in there and do some gouging. Once we decide on the dealership, she heads out. She does the footwork, goes in there, pretends to buy the car, and she as soon as the report's over, she starts taking notes, contemporaneous notes, keep everything fresh in her head.
Got a great
quotes.
memory. Got a great retention.
Yeah, well,
And
we
she's
talk about these
detailed.
things.
She's detailed.
We say things like, remember quotes. Anything that sounds funny, if you put it in quotes, I'm assuming they said that exactly, and then I'm going to put it in the report like that. Any new phraseology that she hears is, any kind of car dealership lingo.
Yeah.
Anything that makes it interesting. Pictures of anything that might be significant, even if she's not sure if it is. I would take a lot of pictures.
And she gets away with taking a lot of pictures. I guess.
Everybody does. That's the whole world with,
Yeah,
with the
taking
cameras.
pictures. Yeah. I mean, it used to be we had to sneak the pictures, and then before.
Oh, yeah.
The past few years, they would bust you. Why are you taking a picture of the Moroni label?
Everybody, customers go to car dealerships and everywhere, and they take pictures of the car, and they send them to their friends. I'm looking at this one. Hey, look at this guy, and they're taking pictures
Documents,
all over the place.
buyer's
If this
orders.
was 20 years ago, you'd only a tourist, you would think if they're walking around with a big snap camera. So, and then after she writes all the notes, she'll put it all in a narrative, and she sends it to me, and then I will. Write up an introduction, trying to kind of establish the setting, any relevant information, if it's a unusual place or if there's any unusual stories that might be entertaining. I try and do a little research and put that together, and then I take Agent Lightning's narrative and I put it in a more of a story type of form that's easy to read, and there you have it. That's the report. And this week we did Al Packer Ford. And who I thought, by the way, had been around here as long as you have. I thought that Al Packer was here in the 30s, but he hasn't. He's all the stores started up in the 1961, so it's not a young group, but
It was Macaulay Ford before it was Al Packer Ford.
okay, yeah. So
Dick Macaulay, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the story, and I can't wait till we get to read the report today.
Yeah, it's to me the reason nobody does it, and we do it, and we name names and dealerships, and we even cite breaking of the law, violation of the Federal Trade Commission Act, or the fine print, or the fact that they break the Florida statute, which they do all the time. The advertised price is supposed to be the price you pay, and it never is the price you pay. So we do that, and we say this dealership broke the law, and we don't get sued. And we've been doing it for almost 20 years, and that's the reason we're so convinced that we're being accurate. The dealers out there are afraid to sue us because they know they'll lose. The truth is a perfect defense against libel and slander. You attorneys in the audience, and I know there's some of you out there listening, you know that. You can say anything about anybody as long as it's the truth. So that's all we do is tell the truth. I get nervous because I think sometimes we might make a mistake. We probably have, but we haven't been caught yet, so nobody sued us.
I think I think about that a lot, and the mistakes I think we made are inconsequential, like someone's name or maybe a small dollar figure. But all the crimes that we uncover, there's nothing fake about that. Everything the salesperson says, there's nothing fake about that. So we take great pains to make sure it's accurate. And then if somebody has a problem with it, well, like you said, then call us out and we'll have a conversation.
Yeah, I've always had in my mind, I always have a backup plan. So if we do get sued, and I hope we get sued, because my plan is to have a lawyer that will be able to get us a jury trial. Because I want a jury trial, and I want cameras in there, maybe court TV.
Yeah, like the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial.
Yeah, so
you want it live streamed on TikTok.
right. So that would actually get us more PR for you, the consumer, and against the dealer. So that's the reason. Secretly, I hope we get sued. I shouldn't say that, should I?
Huh?
Be careful what you ask for.
Well, because I think something.
I mean, the only thing I don't want about that is it's a drag it.
Yeah, at the time, because
yeah,
you'd
the
be talking
depositions and all that stuff, and then.
Okay.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
I want to remind the ladies that last week we aired a video, and what an interesting video. So if you don't recall, it was about crash dummies and how women were left out. And ladies, if you need an idea to work with this morning, to call for the first time, of which you're going to win $50, 2 female callers. You can wrap your head around this. like I said, women have not even been considered when it comes to testing these crash
Yeah, they're
dummies.
79%
And
more
all-
likely to be injured because of that.
You're stepping on me. Hey, so back to the statistics. I want to tell you that the chances of you being killed in that car as a passenger, killed in the car, is pretty high. And Earl, you were saying?
Well, the injury is 79%. I think something like 17% or something like that more likely to die. But it's because these male crash dummies, I mean, it's a chauvinist world, male chauvinist. People think about people as being men, not men and women. And a woman, as you know, from a construction standpoint, not just smaller, but they're constructed differently. I mean, thank God for that. I love the fact that women are constructed differently.
Yeah,
but they also injure a lot more easily in a car that is designed for a man to drive and to make a man survive the crash. And what makes a man survive can be a negative thing for a woman. So you ladies out there, give us a call and tell us what you think about that. And communicate it to your legislators and say, what's going on? Let's pass a law saying the National Highway Traffic Safety Association needs to change that so that when they do the crash test to certify a car as being safe, use women and men dummies in the crash, so that way they can build the cars safer for ladies.
Yeah, and that information that broke about being seriously hurt in a crash, can you even imagine 20 to 28%? 20 to 28% you could be killed.
Oh.
And why? I mean, there
Greater risk than a man, yeah.
I mean, it is just incredible statistics. So, ladies, I think you can view that video. Jonathan can give me a nod. If you go to Earl on Cars, I think that video is still there for them to take a look at. So, ladies, give us a call. First two new lady callers, $50. 877-960-9960.
Well, let's get to some text. Rick has
As a matter of fact, I got one from Mark Ryan. He says, is a dealer's franchise agreement an open-ended contract with the factory with no expiration date? And also, what type of actions by the dealer could possibly terminate the contract?
Great question.
Very few. It isn't so much what the contract says as what state law says. Dealer franchise agreements often have a limit, and they started out to be 1-year agreements, and they went to 2 years, then they went to 6 years. A lot of the franchise agreements have limits, but the state law has overridden the limit. So in Florida, for example, it's a perpetual contract, even though the contract from General Motors or Ford or Toyota says 6 years. The state law says you cannot terminate a dealer without cause, and then they specify the cause, and the cause is
Murder.
Murder, rape. No, maybe not rape.
Terrorism.
But murder. Yeah, I'm only kidding. I don't know, but let's put it this way: I don't know, and I don't think Stu
It would take a lot.
knows of a dealer that has been terminated. We don't know any in Florida. There every now and then one we read about.
Usually, a lot of
automotive
pressure
news.
to sell comes to bear. There's a whole lot. Like the dealer might get pushed out, offers to buy the dealership, but they can't force them to.
Yeah, and it's hard to push a dealer out too. It's not easy. So, and what was the other part of the question?
What type of actions by the dealer could possibly terminate the contract?
Yeah, it depends on the state, and if it would have to be so embarrassing to everybody that they could terminate them, or the manufacturers just don't want to be sued. The state franchise laws are so strong that the manufacturers can be tied up in court for years and years and years. Here's an example: Napleton. Dealer, one of the largest dealers in the country, has dealerships all over the USA. He has had such serious problems, and Nissan and Hyundai and Kia and the rest, all the other franchises he have, nobody, to my knowledge, has terminated any of the Napleton franchises. He has done some really outrageous things that have been a matter of reporting in the press. and they have not terminated. So it's almost unheard of today. That's the problem. The dealers are invulnerable, and therefore they feel like, what have I got to lose? The regulators are not going to come after me, and the factory, the manufacturer won't come after me. The consumers are still being gullible, and I'm fooling them, and I'm making a ton of money, so why should I change? Okay. Any
Okay,
other-
excuse me, but Jonathan just gave me the heads up, and he wanted to let me know that you can, as far as the video I was talking about on Crash Dummies, you can go to Earl Stewart on Cars, and you can still view that on Facebook
Very good.
page.
Great.
And we are going to go to the phones.
Good.
We have Dave Holding from Tequesta. Good morning, Dave.
Morning. How's everybody?
Great. What can we do
My
for you
question
this
is-
morning?
Well, I have two, and one is I have a 2021 Toyota Tundra. I was wondering if that came from the factory with synthetic oil. And my other question was, when you order a car from your dealership, do you wait until you get like 50 cars and send the order in, or do you order it immediately?
Well, we order the cars immediately. It takes a long time to get here.
Yeah, I can tell you the process. The order goes into a bank. That's just internal. Every 2 weeks, we get an allocation of cars from Toyota. They're a smaller one in the middle of the month and a big one at the month-end allocation, and that's based on how fast we're selling the cars in stock that we have, which aren't very many. So we get allocated cars. Basically, it's a list of cars that are about to be built. They haven't even been built yet. They have interim VIN numbers, so we can identify them and we can track them as they actually get to the point where they're built at the factory. We fill the oldest orders first, and we try and assign the VINs that we get from the allocation directly to customers, and the ones we don't, we will do, they're dealer trades, but we're trading VINs. Actually, we're trading preliminary VINs weeks before the car is actually built, so we get the right car for the customers. And the reason it takes a long time is, well, there's about 1,000 orders, and it takes time to chip away at that, and that's how it works.
And David does have synthetic oil. All the cars today are requiring synthetic oil. Virtually, I have to throw virtually in there, but do you know any that aren't requiring synthetic
Nope.
oil? Yeah, it's pretty standard. They've been doing that for, what, 10 years now?
At least, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. That was very interesting. Thanks,
Well,
guys.
thanks for calling,
Thank you,
Dave.
Dave. 877-960-9960. Or you can text us at 772-497-6530. And, while I'm thinking about it, take advantage of a column that Earl wrote on how to know if a Florida car dealer is breaking the law. And he was quite detailed, and he even broke it down for all the listeners, the consumers, everyone to understand. You can go to www.floridaprotectingcarbuyers.com. Now back to, we're going to go to back to the phones, and we have a first-time female caller, and her name is
Great.
Mindy, and she's calling from Lake Worth. Good morning, Mindy.
Good morning.
How can we help
Thank
you
you
this
for-
morning?
Oh, okay. So I'm a little nervous. It's my first time on the air. I had two things, and I told the lady that answered the phone everything, but I'll say it again. Number one, the issue that you're talking about, I don't understand. I didn't watch the video. I don't understand.
As far as the crash testing, Mindy?
Mindy, are you still there?
Mindy,
Okay, we may have lost Mindy.
I'm assuming that you're listening, Mindy. If not, if you got call got dropped, please call back in. But I'll answer your question about we're talking about the crash testing. The National Highway Traffic Safety Association, for years and years and years, test cars to let the manufacturers and the buying public know about safety issues, and they rank them. And certain cars have to have a certain minimum amount of safety. The bad news.
Excuse me. Mindy, do we have you back?
Hi.
Okay, great. We lost you there for a minute. Mindy, let me.
Yeah.
Earl was addressing the video that aired last week and what you were speaking of, but I want to remind you that you did win $50 this morning as a first time female
you.
caller. And I want to thank you for
Thank you.
supporting our platform.
Okay, thank you. I listen to it on the way to work on Saturdays when I go, and every other Saturday. And I am a patron of Earl's Stewart, and I bought my car there 10 years ago. It's a 2010 Scion, and I love it. I love the service, everything. So I just wanted to put that out there. But so two questions. Number one, regarding the video, I didn't see it. I just have a question: is how could they ever test the fact that women die in crashes more than men? I know that I've seen the videos where they test cars and there's a dummy in the driver's seat. I've never seen a dummy in the passenger seat. But as far as you're assuming that women are, I don't understand. You're assuming that women are always in the passenger seat, or are they dying as drivers as well? And then if they are, why would they be dying faster than men? Is it? I know their weight is lower, but as far as their reproductive organs, I don't think that has a bearing on the issue here. So I'm kind of confused about that aspect of it. How, and also the other aspect is, because that would be important in as much as how they're coming up with that evidence, because there's so many lawsuits today with gender and ethnicity and this and that. I just can't imagine one more lawsuit unless they have terrific, substantial evidence as to why.
Well, Mindy, let me jump in here and answer your first question. The reason women are killed to a greater percentage and injured to a greater percentage is because of their physiological construction difference. I mean, think about it. If you look at a skeleton of a woman and a skeleton of a man, you will see structural differences there. Women also, they sit differently than men. If you see a typical group picture, the men and the women, you'll always see different postures. There is a critical difference in the physiology and the size, which is part of the physiology, but it goes beyond that. So they've actually found out statistically that women are dying at a greater extent in an accident, whether in the passenger side or the driver's side, either side, women die something like 17% more of the time, and they're injured like 70% more of the time. So it's only because men were the manufacturers and the National Highway Traffic Association, which are run by men, just went to just got them a male chauvinist thing.
I'm going to jump in. No one's suggesting that this was a conspiracy to shut out women from safety. It was just an assumption of what's normal. When you design a car, the engineers are men, for the most part. The guys doing the testing are men, and so they're just thinking in terms of that. That's the chauvinism that he's speaking of. It's not that the designers want women to get hurt.
Remember when? Well, you probably aren't that old, but women used to. They just got the vote in the 20s, and. There's so many other things that we've talked about, and you see it every day in the media. Women are waking up today to the fact that they have been discriminated against, and this is just one of the more serious things that hasn't been exposed.
And again, I don't understand, other than the scientists and the engineers, which women are making their way into those fields more and more. I'm seeing anyway, and I hope that continues and increases. But based on, and as that continues and increases, the field and the construction and the tests and everything will evolve as well.
Well, that's what we're hoping for. Oh, absolutely, and that's what we're hoping and pushing for. Yeah.
And Mindy.
So other than, yes, ma'am.
Mindy, let me add to this that there's no confusion as far as these crash dummies are concerned in the testing. It is passenger and driver. Women are in a dangerous place because the restraints, the safety belts are not what they should be, and women drive closer to the steering wheel. So, Mindy, take a look at the video. There's all kind of information that you can Google that'll clear things up, and we really appreciate your phone call this morning and hope that you'll spread the word and you will let your friends know that they too can call 877-960-9960 and win $50.
Thank you. Now, can I address one more question with you?
Sure.
Which I've been trying to call for many weeks, and I always miss that number, but this time I had my phone out and ready. I drive a manual Scion, and I will be needing to get a car soon in the near future, hopefully not now. I was wondering if you have any insights on other manuals that are coming out, or any manuals, or if there are going to be any manuals.
The only manual Toyota I know of is the Corolla GR. Yeah.
The new Supra.
Oh, the new Supra. Okay.
He's going
Yeah,
to have
Mindy, let me say something. Why do you want to drive a manual transmission?
I love a manual. I've always driven a manual. I have control of it on the road. I can zip in and out. The gas mileage is great. It's one of the lowest, and mainly I can control the thing really well.
Well, let me say this: if you want a manual because you just like the idea of shifting gears, that's fine. The resale value, of course, if you keep a car as long as you keep it, that's not an issue. But the resale value of a manual transmission is very low. Your selection is very low. The new automatic transmissions, since you bought that Scion many years ago, are far superior on gas mileage than the stick shift. You can't drive a stick shift with as good a fuel economy as you can get with a modern automatic transmission. So I suggest that you try an automatic transmission, and you'll have a better selection of cars, you'll have a better price, and you'll have a better resale value, and you'll have better fuel economy. The only possible reason for buying a stick shift today is because people just have fun driving it, and I accept that. I used to like to drive stick shifts, but it's only a pleasure thing. It isn't a practical thing. That's my suggestion. And you're right not to buy a car today. Car prices are extremely high. Wait a few months and the prices will come down. But meanwhile, test drive an automatic transmission somewhere, and I think you'll see what I mean by it being far superior to a stick shift.
Well, I have test driven them a couple years ago, and I wasn't really satisfied unless it's like a BMW or some kind of high-end car, which I'm not in that category.
Mindy,
Yeah,
I definitely I drove a stick shift, so get the stick shift, get it. Don't let anyone talk you out of it. Get the stick shift, but do not buy a car now if you don't have to.
Right.
Mindy, we're going to have to wrap this up. I've got some callers holding. I so appreciate your phone call this morning. And remember to get that information to me.
Can you just repeat the two names that that gentleman said was the manual? It was a Supra, and what else?
It's the Corolla GR, but they're impossible to get.
Everything's impossible to get right now. If you have any other questions, please give me a call on my cell phone. Mindy, have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We are going to go to our second caller, and that is Amy, who's calling us from Hypoluxia. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning to you. I just was saying that I had a new starter put in my 1998 Chevy Blazer, which has got 120,000 miles on it.
Nice.
And it turns over fine now, but every now and then I hear a grinding when I turn the key, and I don't know what that is. It's not all the time. It's just
Rick can answer that for you.
You had a new starter installed.
Yeah.
I wondered, the starter, in order to turn the engine over and start it, it has a small gear that pushes out and engages what's called the ring gear. And the ring gear is a nice big gear it's about 18 inches across, attached to the back of the engine. It's possible that some of the teeth on that ring gear have got some damage on them, and when the starter's trying to engage, it's hitting those damaged teeth, and that would make a noise like that. Unfortunately, replacing that ring gear could be quite expensive because the engine or transmission one has to be removed from the car in order to change that gear.
So it's like a flywheel.
Yes, it actually is. The flywheel is there if you have a manual transmission, and it's a ring gear if you have an automatic transmission.
So what are we talking money-wise, do you think?
Probably I'm going to say about probably $1,000 to $1,500 to replace that, because like I say, the usually it's easier to remove the transmission and then the cost of the part. But in order to verify that, tech would have to remove the starter or the access panel.
If she doesn't
and
do that,
get in with a camera
if
to
she
look
doesn't
at
want
it.
to spend $1,500, what will happen if she does nothing other than it'll continue to grind?
It could damage the teeth on the starter over time, but the teeth on the ring gear would actually just continue to get a little bit worse each time the starter gear hit those particular teeth.
So it's not something I have to run out and do tomorrow?
No.
I'm the one that called that had the broken door in the back.
Mm-hmm.
The
Oh,
latch that they couldn't replace.
remember,
because
yeah.
They couldn't find it, and you said don't bother with it.
yeah. Well, now you have two things you don't need to bother with.
Okay. Well, I'm just very concerned that I was going to take it in and have them do service, and you know darn well once you get in there, they start ripping things apart, and next thing you know, it's $2,000 later.
You know, you always want to be sure if you're going to do that, get a written estimate, and then get a second or a third opinion. You never want to take the car in and just say fix it, because you'll end up, you're right, with a huge bill. Get a written estimate and then take it to 2 or 3 or at least 1 or 2 other repair shops and get another opinion.
Well, I'm at the stage where it's in 1998. I'm at the stage where I really need not be putting more money into it.
No, you don't want to.
And to buy a new car is silly. To buy a used car is silly.
Yes.
So I'm in between a rock and a hard place.
Well, you keep on trucking with what you're driving, and you keep your fingers crossed, and with a little bit of luck, you won't have any problems, and you won't have to spend thousands of dollars. Now's not a good time to have to spend a whole lot of money.
No, it isn't. So you think I'll be okay then?
I think you'll be okay. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your advice, and I'm glad I call you. I listen to your show every Saturday morning, and I have been. I drove Toyotas all my life, and I don't know why I bought this Chevy Blazer. I must have not been in my right mind. That's all I can
Sometimes
say.
we're just ready for a change, but
No,
Amy...
I wanted to buy a 4Runner, but that wasn't in my budget, so I settled for something I really didn't want, and I regret it.
Well-
And I will definitely go back to a Toyota.
Yeah,
And
but
I
for now,
can.
hang on to that car. It's not a real good time, as Earl said. And Amy, I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for calling. And please spread the word that we're here for the ladies.
I tell everybody, and my women friends don't want to believe me.
Well, seeing is believing. Hearing is believing. So you just tell them to give me a call personally on my cell phone. We'll chat.
That's the one that I got on your little business card, right?
That's right, the one you have on my business card. I think that was you that just called me on my cell phone. But Amy, we're going to
Yes,
get
it
to our
was.
next caller, and
Okay.
we
You
can
have a
talk
nice day,
later.
and I appreciate your help. Thank you so much, and take care, and have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Okay.
A blessed day to you, too. We're going to go to Marty, who has been patiently holding. Good morning, Marty.
Hi, how are you?
We're
Hey,
well,
Marty.
thank you.
I have a question for Earl and/or Stu. Assuming the chip shortage ever gets over, I think half of it is make-believe anyways, but that's just me. How long do they think it would take to get back to normal the car business, where you got cars in the lot and you sell under MSRP and under invoice?
I haven't got a crystal ball, and neither does Stu, Marty. we're like you. I used to think it was going to be last year, and then I'm saying this year, and now I'm wondering about this year. So it's a lot of uncertainties out there. I wish I could be more specific, but I was too specific before, so now I don't know what's going to happen. The only thing I can say is it's not an industry-wide problem. Certain manufacturers have more serious problems. For example, Tesla, they still have a problem in deliveries, but it's not because of the microchip shortage. It's just purely demand and production capability and the war in Ukraine and a lot of other things. So everybody's got problems. The world's topsy-turvy, and I can't make a prediction for you.
No, what I'm saying to Earl is, assuming the chips were all back, and that was not the problem, how long would it take to have the manufacturers like Toyota build so many cars that you'd be flooded again in the car dealership?
Pretty quick, let's do.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
If suddenly all the microchips that Toyota needed, how long would it take them to start cranking up the production?
Well, I know there's other factors that are causing the supply chain issues too, not just the microchips. Like the big one that hit us earlier, just a couple of months ago, was Southeast Asia got hit hard with COVID, and a lot of part suppliers went down. There's some other issue that
wiring
happened.
harnesses.
Yeah, and also, I'm looking now, but I do think that the war in Ukraine is impacting, and it might not just be Toyota, but yeah, there's a lot of things going on. But if there's a magically every microchip shortage and that was the only problem, I would think it would be pretty quick if they're just cars sitting around. But there's also a huge amount of demand that's pent up. So to fill those orders, it'd take a few months probably.
I think there are cars already built that weren't shipped because of the microchip. So I think it would probably be faster than you thought because they'd be picking up the slack. There'd be cars sitting in a lot. They'd run out there, pop the microchips in, and I'm exaggerating a little bit, and ship the car. So if we had everything we needed in the terms of rare earth elements, wiring harnesses, microchips, and all the other supply chain issues, if suddenly they dropped out of the sky onto the manufacturers, I think probably in 60 days it'd be life as normal again, but that's not going to happen.
All right. I appreciate your opinion, so...
We appreciate your conversation, Marty, and so much as...
I put in an order at your place in March.
Great.
They told me 3 to 6 months, so I still got to wait.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much, Marty. So
All
much
right,
is
have a good
surfacing.
one.
It's just the way it is today. It's the new normal. Thank you for your phone call. We love hearing from you every Saturday.
Okay.
We're going to
bye-bye.
go to Ann, who's been holding in Jupiter. Good morning, Ann.
Good morning. How are you?
Oh, great. Welcome.
Good, thank you. Well, I had called in 2 weeks ago, and I want to thank you for my check. I got my check.
Oh, you're quite
Thank you
welcome.
for that, and it was extra because it was Mother's Day, so thank you for that. And you did say to follow up with you with my concern about my 2018 Hyundai Sonata. The paint is peeling off of the roof.
Yes.
And I have been, it's almost 3 months now, I've been with, you suggested I go to the different dealer.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that. They took pictures, they sent it to the warranty, and they're saying that it's 5 years old, that I've had it 5 years. I bought it new, and it's an 18, so it's 4 years old in my books, but they're saying it's 5 years, and they will not cover my warranty.
Was it a demo or did it have miles on it when you bought it?
No, sir, it was brand new, no miles.
Well, it's
So
from
I
the
just
date of delivery
follow
that
up
they...
with-
Yeah, it should be from the date of delivery. I was thinking, but if it starts for date of first use, and if there was a demo, that would count against it.
What you say you
No,
went
they're saying
several
I bought
dealers...
it in September of 17, and
Well-
that counts as another year. But I've been 19 years in Hyundai, but no more.
Which dealers did you go to, Ann?
The one on North Lake.
And did you try any other Hyundai dealers?
Yeah.
Yes, sir, I
they said the
did.
same thing.
I did. I went to the one in Stewart,
Oh, okay.
and I also have been in touch with the manufacturer directly,
Mm-hmm.
and they've even told me no, they're not going to cover it.
Yeah.
So I said, well, then now for 19 years I've been happy with Hyundai, but not anymore. I'm going to a different car.
Well, I'm sorry, Anna. You know, it was a bad business decision on Hyundai's part and the dealer's part. And right now we have thousands of people on the air listening to this, watching it, and it's just a bad rap for Hyundai. It's not good business. You're only slightly out of warranty at best, and they should handle that under what they call goodwill. And just a darn shame. Any Hyundai dealers out there, if you folks listening, if you know of any Hyundai dealers that would help Ann, that are anywhere remotely near South Florida, let us know, and we'll pass it along to Ann. Because I know a dealer, if he pushed it with Hyundai, could get that bought under goodwill, and you just haven't found a dealer that would do that for you. I'm sorry.
Well, thank you. And I've even had I'm starting to get estimates on my own, and it's too much.
Yeah.
I told Hyundai I'm going to ride around with it like this. Is this good advertisement for you?
Exactly. And you calling the show, it's amazing the number of people who are listening to this show right now, and that includes car dealers, salespeople, everybody. So there's nothing like free advertisement, and I'll tell you what, it travels like wildfire. And I'm so glad that you followed up on this issue that should have been taken care of.
I think it should have been.
Absolutely.
Or at least help me with it. They could. I'm willing to, to give a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the $1,000 that they saved by not doing what they should have done for you is going to cost them probably over $100,000 in negative attitude and publicity for Hyundai and the local dealers. So it's a bad business decision and a bad decision for you too. And hopefully we'll hear from a Hyundai dealer somewhere, someone who knows a Hyundai dealer, and we can get back and give it another try for you. We'll see.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Stewart.
And thank you for helping us expose all this negative publicity. And it's definitely going to help you and us. Have a great weekend.
All right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Stay well.
Okay, we're going to go to Tracy, who's a first-time caller. She's calling us from West Palm Beach. Good morning, Tracy.
Hi, good morning. I love your program.
Oh, thank you. You've won yourself $50 this morning.
That's really generous. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That's really, I have, my son had bought a truck. It was his first time going to a car dealership, not a buy here, pay here, but, a big car dealership. And he wanted to get the truck for $60,000, and he was going to leave over the five. They had it for 65, and he was going to leave over the 5,000. And then they finagled it where he signed on a computer. There was no kind of bottom line paperwork. And then he just found out when he got his first bill a month later that they sold it to him for 65. Also,
Wow.
They said there is a month or a 60-day return policy, because they're seeing that, it's not what they said it was. And then they called about that and said that is not correct. It's not Walmart. You can't return it. And then they just, the salesman just said whatever came to mind to get the sale done. But then the truth of the matter was entirely something different. And they didn't even give him any paperwork to walk out the door with.
Wow.
They gave him a zip drive.
Okay, I've heard of that. Yeah, any chance this was a Lexus dealership?
No,
Okay.
it's no. I don't know if I can say or not.
Oh, yeah, you
Oh,
can. Who was it?
absolutely.
Oh, it's Bev Smith Kia in Fort Pierce.
Okay. Yeah, we know who the general manager is. That paperless signing thing is just kind of getting started off. I never really thought about how it could be abused by a dealership. We just thought it would be a really cool way to get into the 21st century. But if you're not getting, what was on the zip drive? Was there any all the proper documentation?
Well, I didn't. It's kind of a sore subject with my son. I can see he's really, he feels like he got ripped off. Well, he probably did get ripped off, and he just. So I don't know,
Right.
but I'm sure that it does say what it was, because he said that what they said verbally and what he signed was 60, but then once he saw the
It's
drive,
back to 65.
Yeah. So the fact of the matter was on a zip drive, but he didn't see that. He didn't even have a computer to go home to put it on. I had to give him a laptop. That was his, whatever. But
Listen. I mean, I don't know if this would if it helped, but your son, what happened, and he shouldn't be embarrassed about. I mean, especially with younger people. The car dealership, especially like that dealership that he went to, specialize. In
I
taking
don't. I don't think it's legal to give a zip drive.
It is.
You sure?
I think JM Lexus does it, and we've talked with JM&A and all that. You can give paper. I think you have to give the option. I don't think you have.
Well, I would. I would be amazed. And any lawyers out there listening, I'd love to. We'll get an opinion on this, but I would think
electronic receipts are pretty common. Yeah.
Well, if you ask for it, I'm just saying the way the law reads. Let's talk about people that are maybe English language challenged, or maybe education challenged, or maybe a lot of other ways. It's hard enough to know what you bought and understand the rules when you have it in your hand in a piece of paper.
But that's how online sales are gonna be done.
I know that. Yeah. I know that. I'm just saying that I think at some point a written document is required, but I don't know that for sure, and I don't think Rick does either.
And I was just going to say that Raymond Honda on Lake Worth Road has actually been doing that for a couple of years now.
I mean, the dealers do a lot of things that aren't legal, but I just let's.
We have discussed it with JM&A, and it is.
The person you need to discuss it with is an attorney because.
All right, we trust them to use their attorneys.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you raised a very interesting question, and unfortunately, once you've committed to a purchase and taken delivery of the vehicle, and you sign the papers, and I'm saying papers now we're talking a zip drive, I will do a little exploration on that legally, because this is something that never occurred to me. I thought I knew we were buying cars online, and I knew we had digital documents, but I never thought that the law would make it legal for someone to be processed and delivered any product with nothing on a piece of paper. And it might be true. I could be wrong. If it is, I think it's a great injustice, because it's hard enough for people to, as I say, read a piece of paper as opposed to have a zip drive that they got to plug into their PC before they know what they did.
Gotcha.
Tracy, what a great call and a great question in bringing all of this to our attention. And I certainly hope that you'll stay in touch with us as we uncover this situation, as you will.
Okay, I appreciate you guys being there to answer. I was thinking about that Florida ProtectingCarBuyers.com, looking into that website. Is that what it was, Florida ProtectingCarBuyers.com?
Yeah, they don't address digital or online purchasing, I don't think. The Florida statute, the latest Florida statutes are probably 10 years old. There needs to be, someone needs to address purchasing things digitally, because you know who's going to be taken advantage of, be the young people, the old people, the people that are not sophisticated. I know Amazon has stores right now that you drive up to the store and you go in and you put the products you want to buy into a shopping cart, and you run it out of the store and you throw it into your car, and you never talk to a human being. You never have a piece of paper. You never see a credit card. So we're in a fast-track digital world that will exploit. Now, I don't suggest Amazon would, but car dealers sure would. They would exploit that digitalization to their advantage. So you brought up a very interesting point, and we will pursue this, as Nancy said, and see what the bottom line is. We'll be talking to some lawyers. I will be calling the attorney for the Florida Automobile Dealers Association. His name is Alex Kirkin, and I'll see what he has to say about it. Then I'll talk to some other people too. But you asked a great question, Tracy. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, this is great, Tracy. You really added to our show this morning, and
I wish it wasn't what happened. Honestly, I feel so bad for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, Tracy.
Bye.
Again, thank you, and please stay in touch and enjoy that $50 that you won this morning.
So nice. Thank you. Thank you. you.
You're
I'll
welcome.
give that to him. That'll make him feel a little better.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Bye, guys.
Have a great weekend. Our number here is 877-960-9960, and you can text us at 772-497-6530. And you know, I haven't mentioned for a while, but to Earl's comment about this digital age that we're in, we're not moving into it, we are in it. Well, we really need some volunteers, not only for Earl's Vigilantes, but we need...
I lost my hat.
Oh, no.
I need another hat. I don't know what
I
happened.
got a box of them.
Oh, good.
I'm an investigator, as you know.
Yeah.
We'll uncover that that theft. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to volunteer, you can help out certainly, and we need help with helping whomever. I used to say seniors, but it's everybody maneuvering their way around the computer, into this digital age. A lot of us are going to our PC to purchase a vehicle, to do many, many things. So you can volunteer, and you can go to Earl on Cars, and you can volunteer for Earl's Vigilantes, and you can help people in your neighborhood. You don't have to know how to take a vehicle, an engine apart. So there's two ways that you can help out, and you can go to Earl on Cars. We are going to go to Kurt, who's giving us a call from Virginia.
Kurt? Oh, good.
Good morning, Kurt.
Hi, it's Kirk in West by God, Virginia. How are you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention that's right on my computer. Kurt from My God, Virginia. What can we do for you?
My question really refers mostly to Rick, I think. It has to do with manufacturers' recommended maintenance schedules, and in particular for folks that drive between 5,000 and 7,000 miles per year on their cars, and cars that are beyond their warranty periods. For example, the manufacturer recommends oil changes every 6 months or 6,000 miles. Is it reasonable to stretch this to 8 or more months for synthetic oil changes? I'm also interested, or I'm thinking about using Blackstone Laboratories for an oil analysis to sample my next oil change, just to see a chemical analysis of my oil. $30 seems reasonable to check the overall functioning of my engine.
I've actually never done or had done a chemical analysis on oil. I just never really saw the real need for it, but stretching the time a little bit, if you're going a couple of months over, 2 or 3, that's really not going to hurt anything. But I'd avoid going too much more than just a couple months beyond what your manufacturer says. The reason being that even just the natural moisture condensation in the air that gets into your engine can cause issues in there. So even on cars that don't get driven a whole lot, it still needs to follow the recommendations on how often to change the oil.
Okay, and what about coolant and brake fluids? I use Phoenix Systems coolant and brake fluid test strips to have chemical or scientific proof of the quality of my coolant and brake fluid. What do you think?
Again, I would just follow what the manufacturer says for its recommended interval changes. Most of them that I know of don't have a recommended maintenance for brake fluid. So using your test strips would definitely be a good idea there. That would certainly tell you when the water content of it has reached a critical point, or if the fluid is just getting too dirty and it's reaching a point when it might be detrimental to the system. It might start to allow the brake lines to corrode or something.
Okay, Rick, I thank you for your answers. And one last question for Earl. When can I order your second book?
Well, that's a good question. We're getting to the wrap-up stage now. There's still a couple interviews and a few more chapters. We've got 10 chapters, and we'll probably have 3 or 4 more. And I would say by the end of the year.
Outstanding. Thank you for your assistance.
Thank you, Kurt.
I enjoy your show from West by God, Virginia.
All right.
And Kurt is
So
going to
nice to
be
hear
a
your
real
voice.
page turner. It's going to be an amazing book, and it's going to be exciting. You won't be able to put it down. Redemptions of a Car Dealer. If you want to pick up Earl's Confessions of a Recovering Car Dealer, you can do so. You can just order it online. All proceeds go to Big Dog Ranch. All proceeds, if you didn't hear me, go to Big Dog Ranch. Yep. There you go.
I like that one.
And that's part of the full moon thing.
Oh, yeah.
And also to Tracy, who we were speaking to earlier, I'm going to repeat that website for you, www.floridalawprotectingcarbuyers.com. And I'll repeat that as we go through the show. It's only 9:06 right now. That will come in handy for you and what you want to do. We're going to go to John, who's been holding in Palm City. Good morning, John.
Good morning to everyone.
Hey, John.
The topic came up about manufacturers revoting franchise of dealerships. It seems like it, especially in Florida, some of it lies in the hand of the Attorney General. But it seems like a no-no completely because of the lawsuits, especially a certain lawyer. He's right here in Stewart. He sued Anheuser-Busch. He's the only one that successfully won a case with them from a franchise in Orlando. He's sued Coca-Cola, and he sued the largest second largest funeral chain in the United States, and he won with them. So it seems like they're hesitant. The case will be in court. It'll cost a lot of money. It's not worth them here in Florida, especially, with past history that we had. But yet a state like New York just currently now successfully sued 3 used car dealers in Woodside, New York, Luxury Motors, World Auto, and Automania, and sued them tremendously. They had 10,000 violations, you name it, for everything that we discussed at this show, violations, especially with the Hispanic market, abusing the people, taking care of it. It's a large settlement. There's 16 consumer complaints against them, and it'll probably succeed because look at the history in New York. General Motors was not hesitant to take the franchise away from Vic Potemkin of Miami, the Cadillac dealership, and gave it to Roger Penske. They revoked it from Pontiac dealer on Long Island. It seems like it depends a lot upon the state, and they seem to. Well, in New York City, you got the New York City Consumer Protection Law, which they go by that, and they succeed just using that law alone. So it seems like a hesitant, completely, especially here in Florida. And if, by the way, people observed that they revoked the franchise of Toyota or Stewart, that wasn't Toyota that took his franchise away. That was the Toyota distributorship. And then for some reason, it seems like the person that bought that dealership even got rewarded later on, and they gave him a Lexus dealership. So
That's right.
I don't know what the politics that's involved in there, but that revoking of the franchise was not done by Toyota, the manufacturer. It was done by the Toyota distributor. So I just thought I'd mention that there's a no-no of manufacturers going against individuals like Napleton.
You're right. You're right. It's a sad thing because if they're not going to terminate Napleton, they're not going to terminate anybody, and that's probably the truth. It's manufacturers are helpless because of the state franchise laws.
Agreed 100%.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
John, it was great hearing from you. Give us a call again, 877-960-9960, or you can text us at 772-497-6530. Don't forget youranonymousfeedback.com. Now back to the recovering car dealer.
I'm still thinking about Tracy's call about the zip drive, and I reflect back on my evil days when I was doing bad things just like all the other car dealers. And one little trick we used to have back, 25, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, when we sold a car, we called it, we didn't want to have to face the fact that the customer, in the vernacular of the car dealer, would come out of the ether when they got home, when they were basically anesthetized in the dealership and they were lulled into complicity, and we would sign them up in an outrageous profit on a car. And one of the ways we really made money, like the car dealers today, was with financing. And we had the installment sale contract, which is the contract where we could charge 17.5% on a new car. It's still in Florida. The legal limit to finance a new car is 17.5%. And there are a lot of people that, the victims, we call them, never bought a car before. English is not their primary language. They are just not sophisticated enough to understand the laws and things like that. A lot of people, they don't know that 17%, they don't know they're paying 17%. They don't read the fine print. So what we used to do is we would take the installment sales contract, and if you're streaming this, I'll simulate this a little bit. We would take the installment sales contract and we would fold it up like this. And before we gave it to the customer, then we would take a stapler and we would staple it like this. And then we would say, now take this and put this in your glove compartment so you don't ever lose it. And it had about 40 staples in there. And you don't want to unstaple, you tear the contract apart when you did that. The reason, we didn't want them to see that they were charged 17%. So disclosure is important, transparency is important. And we talked to Tracy about the fact that her son bought a car from Bev Smith Kia, and there was no paper. He was given no paper. He was given a zip drive. Now, what are the chances that he still has that zip drive, or he can find it? And if he found it, he'd know what to do with it. It's just, maybe he would because he's a young person. But how about a senior citizen? How about a young person that never bought a car before, someone that doesn't speak English, didn't understand, what was this thing they gave me? You put it in your pocket, you stick it in your purse. You don't know. So I'm fascinated by the fact that we may have a huge new problem that I didn't think about, Stu knew about it, that people are now just buying cars online and there's no paper changing hands. They get no paper disclosure. Rick?
That fits right in with the question I have here.
Okay.
Patricia Soto is asking, she says, I'm stationed at Fort Hood and I want to buy the 2023 Toyota Sequoia when it comes out. How do I navigate getting a good price? Dealers seem to take advantage of military service members.
Well, they do, and they've been caught a number of times. Because I forget the acronym or the. Do you remember, Stu? There's a governmental agency that specializes, a federal agency that specializes in this, and they go to bases around the country. And you're absolutely right. A lot of these young people in the service are being taken advantage of by car dealers. They've never bought a car before. They're in the service, they got some money, and I guess you have good credit when you're in the service because your paycheck is coming in. You got to probably have a credit union and a lot of easy ways to buy a car. And you're absolutely right.
CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau?
That's it, yes, CFPB.
It was formed after the Great Recession. Yeah.
So that's who I would report or I would contact and say that I'm in the process of buying a car. Go online to the CFPB, and they will probably give you some guidance as to.
However, if you're looking to buy a new Sequoia now, everybody's going to get overcharged for that.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
So now is not the time for you to buy that Sequoia when it comes out.
Exactly. Okay.
Okay, we are going to go to John, and he's calling us from Stewart. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
Welcome. What can we do for you?
Well, I have a 2003 Mercedes-Benz C230 compressor, and it's causing me a bunch of problems. So my guy next door to me, he's assistant service manager, and so I started up, and he listened to it. He said, no, he said, because it wasn't taking gas, and it's just kind of weak, and he said, that's a coil. So I said, okay. He said, but you need to go somewhere and have them check it out. Well, I thought, instead of doing that, I just put in all new coils. So I got out the coil packs, and I put it in, and I started it up, and it ran really good. I went out on it wasn't idling perfectly, but I rode it, drove a little bit, took it out on the highway, got up to some speed two or three times, came back, and I said, well, I've got to put some gas in it, some good gas. So I went to a mobile, put in the 93. I drove it about a mile, and it starts jumping again. So I don't know what's going on with it. I was wondering if Rick might know. But one other caveat is, so I let it set for 2 days because I got an appointment. I was going to put it on a computer and see what he thinks is wrong with it or what the computer says. But now it's running really good, except for it just wants to idle a little bit low. So it's got a rough idle. So I Googled it and said it could be a EGR, exhaust.
The exhaust gas recirculation valve.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
So what do you think?
First question, when you put the coils in it, did you put in new spark plugs?
I did. Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. Still possible you might have some carbon buildup in there. What happens when you're not getting a good complete burn in the engine, it'll leave carbon deposits, and sometimes those can foul out the spark plugs, or too much fuel getting in and not getting burned properly can foul the spark plugs, but the new plugs usually will take care of that. The low idle and slightly rough idle, quite often that's caused by a dirty throttle plate. I would have the throttle body serviced and cleaned properly, and try that first before you start putting any other parts on it just yet. But if they have a chance you can get it on a scan tool, that would be a good way to tell if you've got a misfire on just one cylinder or multiple cylinders, or see what's going on there.
Okay, I think I did, because I had to take it to the same guy before. He's really good here in Stewart, a local guy. His computer goes into the one in Germany, and so he can tell me exactly, because I took it at another place, and they threw parts on it. This was a previous situation I had with it. So he put in the two different fuel pumps. They put in the fuel filter. They put in everything in the world, and all it was a sensor, an oxygen sensor. And I put in like almost $2,000 to get all that stuff done. They just threw parts at it, and I don't want anybody to do that, so I'm going to take it to this guy here.
Yeah, definitely, because just throwing parts at a car is a very bad idea. You want to try to have them find out what's actually causing the issue.
Okay, yeah, because this guy, and I'll just give him a little plug. His name, it's Ryan from Church Street Automotive down in Stewart, and he's really an honest guy, and he knows what he's doing. The other guys didn't, so I'll take him there and let you know what's going on then, buddy. But it could be, you said, like the throttle plate?
Yes. That's one I see quite often, because carbon buildup on that throttle plate, it starts to block off the air passage, and you don't get enough air getting into the engine, and that'll cause it to give a low idle.
Okay. All right, buddy. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate your show.
Thank you so much, John. We are going to stay with the phones, and we're going to talk to Douglas from Wellington. Good morning, Douglas.
Hi, good morning.
Welcome.
Thank you.
What can we do for you this morning?
I've been reading Earl's articles in the Florida Weekly off and on for several years, and I've always found them very enlightening and very informative.
Thank you.
And the basic premise that I take away from some of the articles about buying a new car is out the door price, and then all the things about the add-ons that they add and stuff, which the average person like me wouldn't even think of. But my question is, when you buy a new car, you can compare apples and apples. A new Toyota Corolla, the same model, trim, etc., is going to be the same comparison at different dealers. But if you're buying a used car, I found it to be much more subjective. And I just wondered if you could comment on that. What's the difference between a Nissan Sentra 2017 with 50,000 versus a 19 with fewer or more. It's just I found that process a little bit more difficult to navigate. I wonder if you could maybe comment on how to make comparisons buying used cars.
Well, yes, that's a good question. I happen to have the current June issue of the Consumer Reports open to the page 52 that says most reliable brands for 5-year-old vehicles. And actually, you're better off doing a Consumer Reports check on a used car because they've got a history. They list the 2017s here, and you can get it for any year, but the 2017 brand reliability, they go all the way. The top three, I'll read, the top three are the Lexus, Toyota, and Acura 2017 used cars. And the bottom three, the worst that you want to stay away from, are Chevrolet, Ram, and GMC. So they really have, if you've got a car that's 5 years old or 4 years old, there's a lot of history out there. And Consumer Reports really does the research, and they know when they say that if you're going to buy a 2017 Lexus RX, you're going to get a great vehicle. It's got a rating of 91. And if you can find one at a reasonable price, which you probably can't today, but if you could, it would be a far better buy than a new car. So Consumer Reports, they have great information on used cars.
No, I have used those, but the Consumer Reports, but when actually going out to hit the streets and going to a couple of different car dealers.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's inventory varies because it's used cars. It's not like they can order a brand new one from the factory and you're getting the same comparison between this dealership and that dealership.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really hard to know if I'm getting a good deal and I could, no pun intended, spin my wheels running around to 10 different dealerships and finding.
Hey, this is Stu. Do you have a computer or smartphone?
Yeah.
Probably the best thing to do is just it saves you a lot of time is search online and start off at like a clearinghouse site like autotrader.com for the used cars, and then I would narrow it down to dealerships. I don't know if Earl's would agree with me on this, but you also have private sellers out there, small lots. There's also lots of crap. To kind of just weed out some of the most the worst possibilities, narrow it down to reputable dealerships, and look online. That saves you the shoe leather of running around town. And then there's other online sources that you can use just to get the pricing, to make sure you're in the ballpark. Everything's ranges, but look at Kelley Blue Book, what their fair value is, and there's some other sources. Those are not written in stone, but at least you're in the ballpark.
And the gold standard is to have the car checked by your own mechanic. Yeah. Pay him $100, $150. Have him go over the car carefully, and get your Carfax report. If you get a Carfax report and have your own mechanic check the car, no one's going to pull the wool over your eyes. Either the car's right or it's not right, and that's the final test, the acid test.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing you can do is stop in at the dealership for that particular car and ask the service department if they will run a national history for the service report to see what maintenance and repairs have been done on the car.
Mm-hmm. What about buying? What about car? What's your take on CarMax and off lease only?
CarMax is a great place to buy a used car. Carfax is where you want to check the car you bought at CarMax on Carfax.
And off lease only, look over the car extremely carefully, because as a technician, I have seen a lot of people come in with relatively new cars that were totaled in accidents and then rebuilt and sold by off lease only.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard that, but wouldn't those accidents show up on the Carfax report?
Normally they will, and sometimes they just slip by, because sometimes, say your car gets damaged in an accident, and instead of going through your insurance company, you simply go to a body shop and have it repaired yourself. It never makes it to Carfax. They don't know about it.
Right, exactly.
I know I'm trying to.
Here's another question. What about, buying from a private deal or private individuals, like on OfferUp or Nextdoor or Craigslist or whatever?
You have so few protections when you
Not
do
a good
that.
idea. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't buy from a private individual. It's more problem than it's worth, unless it's your brother, a friend, a
someone
good
you know
friend.
and
Yeah,
trust,
but if you don't know the guy or the gal, don't buy a car from him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like last month we did found something, and a woman was saying that she had it for $2,000, whatever the car was, and then once he expressed interest, she did the old scam about, oh, well, I'm in the military up in Fort Belvedere, Virginia, but if you send $2,000 here, they'll ship it directly to you. The whole runaround.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's I still gave you the right idea.
Let me ask you one more question about buying used cars. So, as far as the trims and the prices, just identify 2 or 3 makes or models that are interesting and just shop around, huh?
Yeah, get your consumer reports. Get the June issue, the current issue, and I started looking for Lexus, Toyota, Acura, Infiniti, Mercedes-Benz. Those are all the top ones. Stay away from Hyundai, Jeep, Chevrolet, Ram, and GMC. And you just start out with the good ones and find one that's got a high rating, and then have your mechanic check it out. Carfax report. Bada bing, you're going to pay a lot of money today because the used cars are very high priced, but you won't get a lemon if you go through that process.
And how about, and again, tell me a little bit more about Auto Trader, if you could.
It's a used car listing site. It's used by dealers. It's used by independent
Every
lots.
dealer in the world is on Auto Trader.
Yeah.
You have a huge selection. Yeah. You go by zip code, and you put in your zip code, how far away do you want to travel, and you get the good, the bad, and the ugly. The problem is you're basically getting virtually every used car that's for sale anywhere is on Auto Trader, autotrader.com. But that is the good, the bad, and the ugly. You got to narrow it down, refine it, as I said before.
Yeah.
With your
you can refine it to dealers only, and also change the miles. You want to look at 10 miles, 20 miles, 100 miles, or no limit.
Douglas, it is a pleasure to speak to you. We wish you good luck. And, you have so many options right there in your home, right in front of that PC. The world is yours. Thank you so much for your phone call.
There's too many options. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it can be confusing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we need to get this video clip, and I have to give a heads up first on this, but we have a video clip on the WPLG, Channel 10 in Fort Lauderdale, expose. Investigative reporter Jeff Weinseer did an amazing job. Jeff Weinseer, the investigative reporter for Channel 10 in Fort Lauderdale, WPLG. And there's some lawsuits going on. We got 2 lawyers, Jonathan Kane, Joshua Fagan, and they're going after 20 or 30 dealers for taking advantage of customers trying to buy their leases back. You have an option to buy if you have a lease car. 1 out of 3 cars on the road right now are lease cars. You have an option on your lease car to buy it. That price is really good, thousands of dollars below market. You should exercise that option, and you should avoid being taken advantage of because dealers are adding hidden fees, profits, and everything else they can think of on top of your purchase option price. This is illegal. So we're going to go to our video. 5, 4, 3, 1, fire.
You should not be charged any dealer fees when buying out your car lease. That's been the focus of 2 recent Local 10 News investigations.
But despite the laws in place and consumers trying to fight back, complaints continue to come in. And tonight, some state lawmakers say it has to stop. Local 10 investigator Jeff Weinseer is back on the case.
I'd like to see the consumer not get screwed.
State Representative Dan Daly talking about consumers like Adonai De Silva, who claims he's unexpectedly being charged close to $1,500 in dealer fees to buy out his current lease, even though his contract clearly says he'd pay 0 in fees if he purchased his SUV.
It's in writing. Right. It's on paper.
And they were able to tell you point blank, we're not going to honor this.
That was exactly their words.
I just
Give it back. Stefano Daniello was hit with $2,500 in dealer fees, but showed a manager at a Lexus dealership a previous story we did showing those undisclosed fees were not allowed. All the fees gone.
All the fees gone. It's mind-boggling how much dealerships completely disregard what they are allowed to do and what the law requires of them.
Attorney Joshua Fagan has or is about to file a demand for arbitration against 25 different dealerships. He says he can't sue because of an arbitration clause in the contracts, but even so,
it could be quite a hefty burden on the dealership.
Those dealerships are charging dealer fees or forcing consumers to certify their lease buyouts, which also adds a cost.
The dealership has no obligation to make any sort of inspection of the vehicle, do any sort of inspection, nor certify that it's roadworthy at the end of the day.
Fagan says there is federal law. The Consumer Leasing Act clearly states all fees charged on the back end must be disclosed in the contract at the beginning. After we first exposed this issue in March, some consumers challenged past fees. A few dealers have made refunds.
Unfortunately, there's still consumers that are being taken advantage of to this day.
On top of a $992 dealer fee, the Coral Springs Auto Mall charges its customers a $449 electronic filing fee to the state. What does that cost you as a dealer?
Well, it cost me $10, $8, $9, $10.
Only $10? Earl Stewart has been a dealer since 1968. He owns Earl Stewart Toyota in northern Palm Beach County, and he's the only dealer who would talk to us. He charges no fees, and he has the same questions we do.
Yes, why is this malpractice of dealers going so largely ignored? I salute Channel 10 WPLG for bringing this out. I can't remember the last time I've seen a state attorney general go after a car dealer.
I think that there are different state agencies that are passing the buck to each other and not really trying to get down to the bottom of how we solve an issue like this.
State Senator Lauren Book was vice chairman of Regulated Industries last year, and she too wants to know which state agency enforces this.
The system that is in place isn't working. We've got to make sure that the consumer, again, is being cared for. And so if that means we have to craft other policies to make sure that that is the case, then we do that.
The first time that we can actually file legislation on this would be in March.
A spokesperson for Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody says 40 complaints relating to lease buyouts have been received. They're investigating to see if they fall under deceptive and unfair trade practices. For consumers today, all of that means nothing.
I feel very disrespected by them. Very, very disrespected.
Jeff Weinseer, Local 10 News.
Well, the chief operating officer of the Coral Springs Auto Mall refused comment, and the Florida Automobile Dealers Association represents more than 1,000 dealerships statewide and provides legislative representation as well. Local 10 News reached out for comment on this issue, and so far, we have not heard back.
Wow.
That was very refreshing, and I have the contact information of the two attorneys that were mentioned, Jonathan Kane and Joshua Fagan. They're both in the Fort Lauderdale area. So if you need to contact these attorneys, they are going after these dealers based on the Consumer Leasing Act. The Consumer Leasing Act is by the enacted in 1976 by the Federal Trade Commission. And the Consumer Leasing Act simply says you cannot modify the purchase option price unless it's disclosed in writing in your lease. If the price you're given to purchase your lease car for is given to you, the dealer or the leasing company or no one can modify that price. They have to honor the purchase option price in your lease. They can't add a dealer fee. All the dealers in South Florida are adding dealer fees, electronic filing fees, certification fees, and anything else they want. And they're violating a federal law. So finally, and kudos to Channel 10, Jeff Weinseer, and WPLG for having the nerve to do this. They're going to lose some advertising because of this. Matter of fact, the owner of the Coconut Creek Auto Mall called up Jeff Weinseer and made some rather implied threats about him not going after car dealers for what they're doing. So I really salute WPLG, Channel 10. I wish some of the TV channels in Palm Beach County and Martin County and some other areas would have the nerve that Channel 10 did to go after this obvious violation of the law. So if you need the number for Jonathan Kane, I'll give it to it quickly. We have to get to the mystery shopping report pretty quickly, but Jonathan Kane's direct line is area code 954-523-5123. Jonathan Kane, attorney, 954-523-5123, and Josh Fagan, Joshua Fagan, F-E-Y-G-E-N, 954-697-0357. Joshua Fagan, attorney. They'll go after these dealers on the Consumer Leasing Act for adding fees to your purchase option. Joshua Fagan, area code 954-697-0357. 954-697-0357. So we'll talk about that more next week.
And Earl, you did say Coral Springs.
Coral Springs.
Coral Springs Auto Mall.
Coral Springs Auto Mall was guilty of some of this, and they called up and raised hell with Jeff Weinseer at Channel 10. Okay.
Our hats are off to Channel 10 for sure. It's a new day, ladies and gentlemen. I think that we may have a moment to get to some texts.
Yeah, I'd like to read Anne Marie's text before we get to the mystery shopping report.
Great. Good morning, Anne Marie.
Good morning. It's been a while. We had a lot of phone calls today. Anne Marie says, good morning. I've noticed an increase in ads for cars and trucks lately. Yet, from what I read in the papers and on the internet and this show, inventory is still quite limited. I'm hoping you can answer these questions about advertising. One, why would dealers increase their advertising when inventory is limited or already completely sold out? Because they can afford it now. Two, I have noticed various car ads popping up when I play video games like Words with Friends, and I can understand how a dealer can place an ad in the newspaper, but or local radio, how does a car dealer advertise on the internet? I'll let Earl answer question one and why they're advertising, and I'll answer question two.
Well, answer them both because you're right on top of it.
It's right now, car dealers' profits are so massive right now that they're not even feeling big expenses like advertising anymore. And we've continued to advertise, but it's the type of advertising we're doing. We're not saying, come in, there's a big sale, and we're going to save a bunch of money on cars. We're just letting people know that it makes sense to put an order in early, and we're letting people know that we don't charge over MSRP. But right now, there's dealers are governed by percentages and numbers right now, and right now they get spend millions of dollars in advertising, and it's not even going to register as a percentage as a percentage of their total profit they're making. And also, they are still competing for customers. I mean, even though there's not a lot of cars there are dealers that are bringing cars in stock, and people are coming in and buying them on the lot for ungodly sums of money, and they are competing for those customers right now. So
the key really is the turn rate, Anne Marie, and it's a technical thing. Normally, you'd be right. People would just sit back and take orders and not spend a nickel on advertising. But with car dealers, you have to earn the cars. And the faster you sell them, the more cars they ship you. If you sat on your haunches and didn't advertise, and your competitor did advertise, you might make a few more bucks in the beginning. But when the smoke settled and things returned to normal, he would have had his turn rate so high because of the advertising that the cars would be coming to him and not you, and he'd be selling far more cars than you could.
And so the second question is, how do you advertise on the internet? That's a neat question. So we advertise on the internet. We have a Google ad account, and we also have a Facebook ad account, and there might be some others. When you have a Google ad account, businesses can bid on pay for search terms, and you pay money when a customer or somebody on the internet clicks on your ad on the internet. But it also goes into the Google Ad Network, so it appears on things they call it display. So if you're on an app, maybe reading the news on a CNN app, you'll see an ad for a car dealer. That's part of the Google Ad Network.
Yeah, I'm talking about geofencing and.
Oh yeah. And then also, but that also goes to video games. So and there's, if you've seen if you stream any TV or you stream anything, YouTube, that's called pre-roll, and it's really cool. There's a lot of targeting that you can do with it. You can select like a specific geographical area. You can select a dealership. I'd be lying if I said we've never done that, where we've targeted an ad that would only appear at a competitor's dealership, so there's and there's other ways you can target.
We could geofence Anne Marie's house.
We could geofence. Well, I think the smallest
or
radius.
the block, the zip code.
Yeah, maybe like maybe a mile or so around your house, but that's true. You can do that with, say, Facebook, where only people in the city of Stuart will see the ad. And you can have a modified ad in the city of Jupiter, and then so it's really, you can craft your message by the people that you're trying to reach and by where they live, and also by demographic information such as income and age and all that, and it gets very, very
yeah, if you live in an older community like Nancy and I, we wonder why all we see is hospitals, nursing homes, pharmaceuticals. Yeah. And all the stuff that old people think about all your time, and that's because they know that we're old and
advertisers have been doing this for a long time, and if you're watching TV and you start seeing a lot of ads for catheters, and you start going, am I really in this? Am I in this Democratic category? But with internet, you can go like it's not. You're not going by hundreds of thousands of people watching one channel. You can go down to individual neighborhoods and all that. So it's really cool, and we could probably do a whole show on it.
Absolutely. Okay, folks, we're going to get to the mystery shopping report, and we want you to join us in rating that report. You're very important to this part of the show. We shopped Al Packer Ford. Now, here is the mystery shopping report.
Yeah, Al Packer, been around for a while. Stu didn't even realize, but I knew the guy before him. It was Macaulay Ford. Some of you old-timers out there remember Macaulay Ford, but the Al Packer Automotive Group was established by Albert Octavius Packer.
I made that up.
I thought
it's just Al Packer.
See, you fooled me. Back in 1961 in Maryland. Over the years, Al ran a bunch of dealerships, but today this group consists of just 3 locations: Al Packer's White Marsh Ford in Middle River, Maryland; Al Packer Ford in Royal Palm Beach, Florida; and Al Packer Ford in West Palm Beach. Some of the folks that have been around town for a long time remember his original ads was Granny Packer, and they had somebody with a wig, an old lady with a wig, and it was Granny Packer. It was hysterical, really cool advertising.
Now it's before you buy Price Packer.
Al Packer's son Mark took over after Al died in 1996. Wasn't too long when we last mystery shopped Al Packer Ford, just 6 months ago, back in December 2021. Back then, we were just getting deep into the inventory crisis as we are today. Prices had already skyrocketed, and dealers were asking and getting thousands over MSRP, and of course, not much has changed since. Al Packer Ford, however, surprised us 6 months ago on that last mystery shop. Although their price was technically over MSRP, it was just because of their dealer fee. Using a $500 rebate, Al Packer Ford actually priced their vehicle below MSRP. In today's and last December's retail climate, it was a great deal. Everything is relative. We grade on the curve, remember. A lot can change in 6 months, so we went back. Maybe Al Packer Ford decided that they were squandering profit opportunities by drawing the line at MSRP and then join the rest of the animals with their market adjustments. And frankly, I'm laughing because Stu and I feel the same way. I mean, we're selling our cars at our dealership at MSRP, not a nickel over, just sales tax and license plate. And it bothers us to think that our competition out there is selling, in some cases, more cars than we are, and they're selling for thousands of dollars more on each car. And it just makes us mad that they're profiting and legally profiting. So we thought maybe Al Packer felt the same way and saw the other Ford dealers like, our buddy, Wayne Akers Ford or Macaulay Ford. Actually, McKelly's taken pretty close to MSRP too. Anyway, hopefully they'll stick with it, resist the sweet call of all that easy money, and continue to do the right thing. The only way to know is to go there and find out for ourselves. So we sent in Agent Lightning. And here's the report, as if I were Agent Lightning. I walked into the showroom around lunchtime, observed a group of men gathered around what I assumed to be a sales manager tower. Yes, they actually have towers, in car dealerships. One of them saw me and approached and asked what he could do to help me. I told him I was in the market for a new SUV. He asked if I had any specific models in mind, and I told him that so far, I really like the RAV4. Now listen to this. The salesman interrupted to tell me the RAV4 was a Toyota product, not a Ford product. And I thought to myself as I read the report, Agent Lightning should have turned around and walked away and got in the car.
She should have, if she was a real customer. She had a job to do that.
So, biting my lip to contain my irritation, I told him I realized that. I said I was curious to see what Ford had that was comparable to the Toyota RAV4. He replied by saying, probably an Explorer, like he didn't know. I asked if he was sure, and if they had anything smaller, like an Edge or an Escape. He replied they did, and suggested we go to his computer and see what they had in inventory. We went inside, talked about what I wanted in the vehicle. I told him I didn't want some base model. I wanted some nice features like power seats. Finally, at this point, I asked his name. It was Justin. I mean, pretty rough around the edges. You would introduce yourself with your name, and you don't tell somebody that's looking for a competitor's model that you don't have one. I mean, you're a salesman. Anyway, I'm passing prejudgment on Justin. We'll see how he does. We spent some time looking at pictures of cars and inventory on his computer before I asked if we could go outside on the lot. I said I was hands-on type person, so we headed outside. We couldn't find any edges or escapes on his computer anyway, so he had two Explorer Timberlines. He also had a 2021 Bronco that was loaded. Outside, we found one of the Explorer.
That was a used one, by the way. I forgot. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And it'd be interesting to compare the prices. Outside, we found one of the Explorers that Justin went over with me. The MSRP was $49,545 MSRP. No addendum was visible. That's always a good sign. Then we took it for a short test drive. Back at his desk, Justin asked for my license and some other information to enter into his computer. He told me that he was going to work very hard during my business, and he'd be back shortly with some numbers for me. Came back with a buyer's order. Second week in a row. I mean, it's so rare.
Yeah.
It's so rare. The buyer's order is a legal document, and dealers typically guard it with their life. They don't even want you to take a picture of it or give you a copy of it.
They want to staple it up.
Exactly, like I used to do. The selling price was MSRP, $49,545. There was no market adjustment or dealer-installed equipment. Really, really good. But there were a couple of hefty junk fees. $199 for electronic filing fee. That is just a dealer fee. That is just a hidden fee. That is what, when I was interviewed by WPLG, Channel 10, they asked me about, and they asked me what I paid for that service. $10. We pay a company $10, and they do the process, the tag work, and so I'm sure Alpaca Ford probably pays the same thing, but they pass along the cost to you, except it's $200, $199 instead of $10. And they shouldn't even pass along the $10. We don't. And a $699 fee, dealer fee, which is a low fee for South Florida. So basically,
with no name though.
No name on it, which is absurd. I mean, did they just say fee?
No, it says $699 to the left. It says this charge represents costs and profits to the seller dealer for items such as inspecting, blah blah blah.
Strange. So basically, around $900 in dealer profit added to the MSRP, which, by other standards of comparison, is not so shabby.
Not so bad.
I asked Justin if I could take the buyer's order with me so I could review it at home with my family, and Justin said, sure. I mean, we've had people tackled going out the door.
Metaphorical tackles.
We actually had a mystery shopper, Scott Cadmus, years ago. It might have been Who was it, Palm Beach Toyota?
Palm Beach Toyota.
Yeah, he took a buyer's order.
He walked into the F&I office,
Walked to
opened
the
a
F&I
drawer.
office, took the buyer's order off the desk, and they chased him out
He
to
ran
his
to his
car.
car, yeah.
Right.
This was a very long time ago, Palm Beach Toyota. Scott Cadmus has
Anyway,
passed away since.
Rest in peace. God. I asked Justin if I could take the buyer's order with him, blah, blah. So anyway, that's a real plus there for Alpaca Ford. And I've got a copy of the Monroe Neely book here that was on the car, and I have a copy of the buyer's order, and it was all just as we disclosed in the mystery shopping report. So here we are. I'm not going to, I don't want to influence the voting, but I'm dying to see what the votes are going to be.
Yeah, they're coming in. Well, actually, got one. Mark, you guys, we know Mark. Mark calls all the time. Gives him a B. We have another B. We have a C plus. Hey, I'm inclined. I think I'm going to go up. My grade's going to be a B. The only thing, other than the junk fees, which I know is not insignificant, the kind of the I don't want to say sexist, but it appeared rude. The way she wrote in the report, interrupting about the RAV4, seemed a little bit rude, and
either rude or stupid, one or the other.
yeah, or maybe nervous. I don't know. People do do awkward things sometimes. Maybe he was. I don't know. I'll give him benefit of the doubt, but it wasn't good. Wasn't a good look. I'm going to give him a B.
B, okay. And that goes on our recommended dealer list. So you got a Ford dealer with a B. I think we have another good Ford dealer. We got Mullinax, yeah.
Yeah, they might even be an A.
So in this area. Rick, what do you got over there?
We've got Mark from St. Louis with a B. Very surprising report. Tim Gilliland, B. Mark Ryan, B+. Tom Steckel, B, just a step below Mullinax. Ernesto with a B. Negan 1 with a B-. And for me, I'm going to say the B. That's they've done well.
Good scores. Nancy?
Ready.
Nancy?
I'm not ready.
Not ready, okay. I'm going to give them a B+. I was going to do an A. I was thinking about that. But I think we gave Mullinax an A, and I want to keep them a little below Mullinax. Mullinax is the gold standard, and Alpaca is coming up well. I mean, maybe we shop them again in a few months, and maybe they get up to tie Mullinax. But how nice to have two Ford dealers in Palm Beach County. Who are the other Ford dealers? We've got the Delray.
Yeah, Wayne Acres.
Wayne Acres, yeah. What are they?
Advantage Ford.
Yeah.
Bev Smith.
Bev Smith, yeah.
Coons Ford.
Yeah, and Fort Pierce, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
There we are. Are you ready yet for a grade?
What's your vote?
B+.
B plus?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my vote would be a C, and everyone should be treated equal, and no interrupting, disrespectful, and the junk fees. I'm just going to call them junk fees. Give them a C. That's for Alpaca.
All right, so what's the official?
Well, B+.
Yours is the official, yeah.
A B+, yeah.
This is like the Supreme Court. We have dissenting opinions, and then.
Yeah, but I'm influenced by all the votes.
Yeah.
I'm influenced by all the votes.
Supreme Court.
Now,
I like that.
we've got a couple minutes here, so I'm going to go back about the video we showed and about the investigative reporting done by Jeff Weinseer, the investigative reporter for WPLG in Fort Lauderdale. I wish we got that channel in Palm Beach County. It's a great channel, and I will say that it's a courageous channel. I hope they stick to their guns. Actually, there was a Fort Lauderdale channel that interviewed me a few years ago that I was really disappointed because the editor chopped the story, and it was because of the pressure from advertisers. And Channel 10 in Fort Lauderdale stood up to the pressure and ran this. There's two attorneys, and we have a hard time finding attorneys that will handle cases against car dealers. Joshua Fagan, I believe, is he specializes in car dealers. And Jonathan Kane, I believe his motivation in getting into this, his daughter actually got taken advantage of by a car dealer having to do with a lease, buying the lease back. So all you folks out there, I know 1 out of 3 of you are driving a lease car, and if your lease comes up, you need to buy that car, and you need to exercise your option. And now you know that it is illegal to charge anything above that purchase option price. And up until now, every dealer was charging at least their dealer fee. So we're talking an average of over $1,000 tacking on to that car option price that you have. So we're at a watershed moment here, folks.
And also try and find out if you can buy it directly from the leasing company.
And you can buy it because we know Toyota.
Yeah, so we know
Southeast
it
Toyota
legally
Leasing
can.
will
It's
do it.
up to the company, I guess.
Yeah, the law, I wasn't even familiar with law, and Jeff Weinstier's investigation revealed this. I think it was Joshua Fagan, the attorney, that said in Florida, you can sell a car even if you're a company, but you only sell 3 in a year. So, but somehow the leasing companies are able to go around this law,
right.
And they are actually able to sell you the car. So, because we know Southeast Toyota Leasing does that. So if you're driving a lease car, look at your option price, check the market value. You can do that very easily by shopping around. Used car price are sky high, and see what the market value is. You will probably find that the market value of your used car, your purchase lease car, is thousands of dollars higher than your option price. Now you know you can buy it, and you can only pay what was on the lease contract. The Consumer Leasing Act says that cannot be modified. And if you get screwed, if they try to take advantage of you, you can call Jonathan Kane at 954-523-5123, or you can call Joshua Fagan, F-E-Y-G-E-N, at 954-697-0357, and they're suing, between them, 20 or 30 dealers right now. Now, they're not actually, they're having to go after their, because they signed the arbitration agreements too, and the arbitration agreement prevents them from suing.
Yeah.
So they first have to attack the arbitration agreement and penetrate that, and then they sue. So nothing easy about suing a car dealer.
That's a whole other topic. We went over those arbitration agreements.
Yeah. We're the only deal that we know.
We don't do one.
We take our, there is no
Sue
clause.
us. Take us to court.
Yeah. We have no, we say, please sue us if we're wrong. You have the right to do it.
Yeah.
All the other car dealers, and most businesses for that matter, have an arbitration clause that you didn't know you signed. It's in the fine print. But you can penetrate that apparently, and that's being done now by Joshua and Jonathan. And
Ladies and gentlemen, we hope that we have helped you in many ways this morning. I know that your calls have been important to us, and you keep us informed. And Stu, did I step on you? Did you want to say something?
No, I did. I have some car trivia that I just learned when I was Googling on the show.
Ooh.
Did you know that last year Governor DeSantis signed a law making it legal to use your flashers in the rain? As long as you're on a highway with a speed limit of 55 or greater, like I-95, and visibility is low, you're allowed to put your hazards on. That's the law now.
Great information.
Why would I spread that?
Well, no, why would he do that? Why would he do that?
Because so many drivers, I think, maybe it came from all the confusion because people do it, and then most of us drive and go, that's illegal, and
exactly.
But apparently,
The
it's
reason it's
mob
illegal.
rule.
The reason it's illegal is
Confuses
because
you with brake lights.
You think the vehicle is stopped.
Oh yeah.
And if you think the vehicle is stopped, you're going to slam on your brakes.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Or confuse it with another light, but that's the case. It's raining, so Rick's shaking his head. He doesn't like
That's
this
great.
at all.
We got 2 minutes left, ladies and gentlemen. If you didn't jot down that website that I sent, that I shared with you this morning about how to know if a Florida car dealer is breaking the law, that you can go to www.floridalawprotectingcarbuyers.com. Take advantage of that. We're here to help you. We share every single Saturday morning, and you can be right back here if you so choose to. Next Saturday morning at 8 a.m. We look forward to talking with you. Have a great weekend.